While I'm sat here in the woods, I'm going to listen to the trees blowing in the wind, to the sticks falling on the ground. That's okay for most of us. But what if I had ADHD? What would that sound like? My name's Nicky. I've got some with ADHD. Let's get into it. That's how a friend of mine describes their ADHD. They describes it as, imagine you're walking through the forest and all you can hear is multiple different sounds which don't belong there. She described it as being in a shopping mall, or hearing the sounds of a shopping mall while walking through the forest. And you'd like to think a forest or the woods is one of the most quietest places, most peaceful places you can be. So take that back into the home environment, when you've got TVs making multiple sounds, you've got possibly parents, you've got children making sound and racket around you. How is one person supposed to concentrate on one little thing with all that going off? For me and you, that's simple. We can focus. On a child with ADHD, not so much. Now, we're going to go back to the beginning of my journey and Harley's journey on his ADHD and the struggles we've had to overcome, the mistakes we've made. But we've got there, we're on the other side, and I'm hoping this video is going to help maybe a few more children, or even help a few parents on not what to do, but hopefully give you a better understanding, and to show you that you're not alone. There is other people out there, there's other people to help, there's other people to talk to. So our first step is we are going back to the beginning. So the beginning of our journey started when Harley was about 3 years old. It started with a lot of phone calls from school. Can you come and pick Harley up? He is doing this. Can you come and pick Harley up? He is doing that. Automatically as a parent, you shouldn't do, but you kind of think the worst. Why is my son being naughty? Why is he the naughty one? Why is it always him what's getting in trouble? Why do I have to keep picking him up from school? What else is it affecting? It's affecting my job. I'm having to leave work early. It's affecting his education. Me and his mum's arguing. So there's multiple negative effects. This is before anyone even starts talking about ADHD. That comes later. So this started when he was about 3 years old. And for 3 years old, like, it's still a baby, you know? They don't get in trouble. The babies are good as gold. So time went on, and it carried on going on for another couple of years. Constant phone calls, constantly picking him up from school, constantly Harley's being naughty, until his teacher then informed us that they believe Harley might have ADHD. Now this is where it gets interesting. As a parent, or myself, I'm not going to say for every parent, but I'll say for most, you are going to go straight to denial, especially as a father. Someone is putting a title on your child. No, I mean, when they told me, oh, we think he's got ADHD, I wanted to swear. I wanted to swear quite a lot. How dare you put a label on my child? So straight away, I went on the offensive side. I also, it is denial. It's a pinnacle. It's denial, simple as that. Now there will be other fathers watching this who are in that stage and they just don't realise it. I've got a friend at work who's also being in denial. I've told him he's in denial, because as soon as you realise you're in denial, and then you can start moving on and you can start looking at the positives. So yeah, we got told. How old was Harley? I don't know, top of my head. 6, 5? No, 6 or 5. So once you get told he's in denial, then you can start going through the full process of getting the CAMS involved. That's the organisation what looks after it. Whether that's doctors, getting more help and support from schools. What I will say is the school has been fantastic for Harley. We'll get on to what the adjustments they've made for him later, because they have been brilliant. So you're in denial as a father. No one wants to put a label on your son. Do you know what I mean? And I'm still in denial now. So for Harley at the moment, we're still going through a autism assessment. He's not got autism. I strongly believe he does not have autism. My wife does. Now, I also come to terms with, I might be in denial again. He might have autism. You know what I mean? And if he has, that's okay. It's just another label I don't want on my child. Because it doesn't matter whether they've got ADHD, whether they've got autism, it's still a child, you know? And it's still somebody else's child. And that's how they should be treated, as a child. So if you're a mother or a father, you've just got to go with it, you know? If you're in denial, that's fair. Admit it. Admit you're in denial. It's nice to admit you're wrong. Something we don't do enough of these days. So the next stage we're going to go to how school has helped him settle in, how he's managed to stay in school a little bit longer than 2 hours. So Harley's school, they have a number of support workers, absolutely fantastic support workers, I will add. They got Harley his own teaching assistant, they put things in place for Harley to do the same learning, but learning a different way. It's exactly the same, maths, English, science, it's just different because they need to learn different, their brains are different, you know. They didn't have anywhere for Harley to self-regulate, as a child with ADHD needs to self-regulate. They had an empty room. They were going to make it into a sensory room. We're going to put toys in there, we're going to put fidget toys and all the other sensory needs that you can just buy and purchase. Me and my wife helped out. There was a website called, I think it's called My Sensory Needs actually. So we got them loads of stuff for the sensory room. The sensory room looks absolutely fantastic. And it's not just for Harley, there is other children in his school who also have sensory needs, and it's fantastic for the school. You know, the children have now got something to self-regulate. It's a very quiet place where they can go and they can just relax. And not every school has this. There's a school literally just behind me, which is probably the worst school in my area. They just do not have anything for children with any kind of special needs or who need that little bit of help in school. So some schools are fantastic, some schools aren't. If you are concerned, I would recommend speaking to the school headmaster or headmistress or whoever's in charge of that school, because they do have people there to help. They might just not realise it. So while the school has got things in place to help, there is other obstacles you've got to get round with your child in school, and unfortunately that is other children. Ollie, now at the age of 9, in fact no, I'd say his age of 8 actually, last year, that's when he really started to realise he was different to his other friends in his class. I mean, why did he go in the sensory room? Why didn't they go in? Why has he got a teaching assistant? Why don't they have a teaching assistant? So they start to feel they start to feel secluded, they're different. And as you might understand, sometimes being different doesn't feel very nice, you know. So Harley had lots of questions. He had times where he was very upset because he didn't want to be different, he wanted to be like everybody else, which is totally understandable. All we did is we told Harley, yeah, okay, you are a little bit different, mate. You mean you've got ADHD. We told him what ADHD is, he understands it's the chemical in his brain. We give him a bit of science behind it, which you can find on the internet. But we also showed him the positives, you know. A lot of people look at the negatives with ADHD, whether that might be not listening because you physically can't listen, that might be lack of concentration, but we showed him the positives, the creativity in his brain, what he can produce, the energy he can bring to a single simple task. I mean, show him the positives, because there's a lot of positives. We need to understand them. So that's at school. Now home life, that's another subject. That's another hurdle we've got to cross, because your home life gets affected. You know, while he's at school, he's got teachers to help him. He's got teaching assistants to help him. The kids at school, they can just run a bit wild, you know. But when we want to go out for a nice meal to a restaurant, we can't do that. When we start queuing for an hour, we can't do that because it tips him over the edge. He just can't deal with it. Can't deal with waiting, can't deal with queues. So we did have to change our lifestyle ourselves. We no longer go out for nice fancy meals. I daren't go out for a nice long fancy meal because I'm afraid the restaurant will get trashed. But we still go on holiday. You can still do things. Your life doesn't stop. You just got to adjust. You know, we still go to Disneyland. Disneyland is fantastic for kids with ADHD and other sensory issues. You can get travel passes. What gets you straight to the front of a queue. So there's no queuing, so it's a much more peaceful, enjoyable holiday. There is things in place, which years ago, I can imagine there wasn't. So wherever you can get it, I would say, get it, run with it. Now we're going to get on to the ADHD diagnosis, the help we received there, some contact information which may benefit you if you're not in that stage already. So we went private. We was fortunate enough to be able to afford to go private for Harley's diagnosis. One of the main reasons we went private is we were just struggling to cope. We couldn't go anywhere, we couldn't do anything. It was school, home, repeat. You know, for a few years we didn't have a life. We didn't go to nice places, we didn't dare go on holiday. Our life just resolved around keeping Harley calm and trying for him not to trash anything. So we were fortunate enough to go private. We went to a company called ADHD 360. If you just Google that, it'll come straight up. They were fantastic with us. Communication was good. Slight delays in emails and phone calls, but overall quite good. Their pricing, I'm not 100% sure on that at the moment. I know they're different tier pricings for some reason. I think that's for how much help you receive from them. So we went through ADHD 360. We got all these private assessments, and they, as was expected, diagnosed him with ADHD and a number of other different sensory needs and issues. Some complex issues which we're not going to get into. It's the ADHD which is his main focus. So he's had his diagnosis. What's next? Well, now it's time for some medication. There's different medications, some more popular than others. So we sent all this medication out. Evidence, I believe it's called. I could have just butchered that, might be wrong. Sent him a low dose for him to try, and it was fantastic. It was really good. We saw some improvements in Harley like within an hour of him taking it, but it didn't last long. So it's trial and error with medication. So back and forth for a couple of weeks until we got Harley on the medication which suits him. He has 2 lots of medication. He has one in the morning and he has one in the afternoon, about 1 o'clock-ish. It's like a slow release medication. They do that with every ADHD patient. Stick in my face. They start them off low, gradually build up until you're happy and you're comfortable with what we get. Too much has massive side effects, which we did find with Harley. His emotions went too far. I've never known a kid of 7 years old with suicidal thoughts, so it went too far, bless him. He had a rough ride, but now he's on some really good medicine and he's getting better in school. We can go places with him. I can trust him to, I don't have to have Isaac back on my head. You know, it's a lot better. Now, I spoke to friends who say, well, I don't just want to keep drugging my kids. Don't see it as you're drugging your kids, you know? You're helping them. You're helping them concentrate. You're helping them get an education. You're helping them communicate and enjoy being at school with their friends. The term drugging them is, yeah, okay, then we're going to be on medication for life. So is most people, you know? It's not the end of the world. You're giving them a life. Now, I would say every child's different. Every child is different. That's with or without ADHD. Now, I can tell you for a fact, all without medication, they'd have no education. They struggle making friends. They just struggle with every single life, day-to-day task. And that's just a fact. So don't see it as a negative, see it as a positive. And I'm going to keep repeating that through this video. Look for the positives, because there's a lot out there. You just need to find them, and grab onto them, and you need to run with it. And you will find a much better, positive outcome for you both, you and your child. Or you and your father, if you've got ADHD yourself. Right, we're going to get back onto travel. But we're going to make it quite broad. So travel, that's anywhere from travelling to the shops to going on holiday on a plane abroad. They all come with different changes you're going to need to make, or you may benefit from making. Number one is plan. Plan what you're doing, plan your route, plan if you're going on a long journey, plan your stops. We went to Southampton quite recently, we stopped 3 times. That was to ensure Harley could change up a bit, could move his feet, could move around, burn a bit of energy. That is very important. Secondly, we're going on a plane soon. We've booked seats away from other people, extra leg room. We've had to pay a little bit more for premium to give us extra leg room, because I can't think of anything worse than, imagine a Harley with no medication on a busy plane. I couldn't think of anything worse, you know. And we did it when he was younger, and it was terrible. It was absolutely terrible. We won't do it anymore. Thank God we don't have to his medication. So plan your holiday, plan your routes, plan your activities, and stick to them. Because if you tell your child a plan and you go off a plan, they're also not going to like it. They need the plan. Tell them the plan. Now, travel which is close by, whether it's not on holiday. I'm going to the shopping mall. The local shopping mall to me, the biggest one to me, is Meadow Hall in Sheffield. What day is it? Okay, it's a Saturday. I'm not taking Harley to a busy shopping mall on a Saturday. No thank you, I can't think of anything worse. Medication or no medication. I'm going to plan it. I'm going to go in the morning. I'm going to go at night before it closes. I'm not going to take Harley. I'm going to leave him somewhere else, leave him with a grandparent. Unfortunately, you have to make these changes. And they're not nice changes. Sometimes they might have to miss out on things, you know? Whether that be kids' birthday parties. I always had to miss out on birthday parties when I was younger. Before his medicine, we couldn't, like, we took him to some parties pre-medication and it was running wild, very close to possibly spoiling it for the actual birthday child. And that's not fair on Harley, it's not fair on the child, it's not fair on yourself, you know. At the start it can be very embarrassing. Nothing embarrasses me now. I've been through it, my wife's been through it, we have seen it all. We literally have a t-shirt. So you've got to make adjustments. Well, that's medication or no medication. You have to make adjustments, whether that being going out or at home. And we're going to talk about the adjustments, what you have to make at home, because some of them are big and they're not easy to overcome. Right, home life adjustments. Where do I begin? You are going to have to change as a parent, especially as a father. If you're like myself, I've made a lot of mistakes. I've put my hands up to my mistakes. It is difficult at the beginning. It's still difficult now. I'm not going to lie and say it is a walk in the park. It is not. So a child with ADHD, if they are, for example, they're just watching a bit of TV, They are focusing on that TV. They're focusing on the sound, on the picture. That is their prime focus. Nothing else matters. If you try and get your child's attention, you're saying their name 5, 6, 7 times. It's not, I'm going to say they're not listening, but that's not true. They can't hear you. They're not focusing on your voice. They're focusing on the TV. Like I got back to the woods. We're in the woods, but we can hear all those sounds. You imagine all those sounds going off, but you're trying to focus on one thing. Now, I've tried to do that myself. It's very difficult. I would not like to do that all day, every day. So it's very frustrating. You're going to shout, you're going to get angry. You're going to be saying, why aren't you listening to me? I'm shouting you. I've said your name 7, 8 times. Why aren't you listening? And you're going to get angry, you're going to shout. Try not to. It's very hard, it's almost impossible. I've made the same mistakes. I've shouted. I've also got angry. And once you realise it can't be helped, once you realise that they are listening, they're just, unfortunately, they're not listening to you right now. They're listening to the TV. They're trying to concentrate. That's what they're focused on. You need to break that focus. What we found with Harley is, if we're trying to get his attention, we're giving him a slight, we touch his knee, touch his shoulder, gentle touch. It breaks the focus from the TV. You then might get their full attention. That's what we found out, so please try it. Saying the name 8, 9 times a second doesn't help anybody. And shouting never helps. That's one of my biggest mistakes, is shouting and getting angry. That's one which I'm going to say it again. Please, please, please try, because it will help. Okay, so I'm hoping this video can benefit you as much as it possibly can. I'm sure there is more I could tell you. One thing I will say is, which is quite new to myself, is the more research I've done on ADHD, whether that be including autism and a few other sensory issues which I may have, the more I've looked into it, the more research I've done, the more I'm thinking I also might have ADHD or some kind of autism. People at work would definitely agree. So it's also bringing out curiosity in myself, you know. Do I also have ADHD? Is that why to do this video I've come to the woods forest? Is it so I can maybe help concentrate? I don't know. What I will say is, if this video has helped you a little bit, please let me know. If you get any more questions at all, doesn't matter how small, no question is stupid. That's one thing I will say. Please ask the question and I will answer it to the best of my abilities. If I can't answer it, I'll certainly point you in the right direction to get you an answer. So remember, whether it's ADHD, whether it's autism or any other need, it is still a child. They need to be treated as so. Every child deserves to be a child, you know. And as a parent, please remember, do not get angry. You're going to get angry. I'm saying that now. You are going to get angry, because that's what we do. It's hard. You're going to feel guilty. Try not to. You know, don't beat yourself up over it, because the more you beat yourself up, the more angry you get, the more issues you have in your relationship with your child, the more issues you have in your relationship with your partner, if you have one. So just try, you know. God loves a trier. And you can't fail unless you try. So please let me know if this video has helped you. I might make another one, because I've got another, I could probably do a 7-hour video. Let me know, okay? Thank you very much. Stay safe and look after yourself.